Hey everybody, it is Dak here from the Ed Boys, and welcome to my Amoxliatl guide. The Ice Nagua boss is located in Varlamore, and it is fantastic for trying to learn some bossing mechanics, specifically footwork, like dodging things by moving your character, and then also reactivating your prayers once they've been turned off forcibly. In this guide, we'll start with the requirements for fighting the Amoxliatl, then the gear and inventory setup. We'll then talk about how to travel to the boss and the basic mechanics of the fight before we put it all together for a full kill. And then finally, I will go over the bit of loot that you can get from the boss. As always, there should be chapters on your timeline for you to skip to whichever part that you need. To fight the Amoxliatl, you have to do the Heart of Darkness quest. In fact, it actually is the final boss of that quest, so maybe that's why you're here. I do suggest having 60 minimum in your melee stats for starting this boss. It is definitely possible to kill it with lower stats, but you're always going to have a much better time bossing if you just get your stats up. You can also take 0 damage when you do the fight correctly here, so technically your defense level really doesn't matter here in the long run. You will need 37 prayer to use Protect from Magic. Getting up to 70 prayer and then unlocking Piety is very solid for DPS. Even 60 prayer and chivalry is a good upgrade, but 37 is the minimum prayer required. Let's get into the gear section of the guide. The Amoxliatl is weak to Crush. It's fairly weak overall, so like any competent melee weapon can technically get a kill done, but Crush is going to be the way to go. It also has a -2 flat armor, which means every time that you land like a red hit splat, an accurate hit, you are going to do 2 more damage. If you're using a weapon that hits twice, both of those hit splats will do 2 extra damage. In this section, I'm going to go over every gear slot from the best to the worst options that I would use, but in general, the short version of this part is just wear your best melee gear and a crush weapon. In your helm slot, you want to wear a Slayer helm if you're on an Amoxliatl or a lesser Nagua Slayer task. After that, you would go Inquisitor's helm and then Torva. The Blood Moon helmet is great, especially if you're wearing the full set and using the dual Amoxliatls. Then we have the Nadeznot face guard, followed by the helm of Nadeznot, and the lowest I would go here is a Berserker helm. The Infernal Cape is the best melee cape, followed by the Fire Cape. Mythical Cape has a good crush bonus on it, and an Arty Cloak 4 has a solid prayer bonus. Then we have the Mixed Hide Cape, which is much easier to obtain, and it does have a +1 strength bonus, which is not much, but it might give you that extra max hit. The Rancor Amulet is best in slot for melee, followed by an Amulet of Torture. The Amulet of Fury is good for all 3 combat styles, though you're only using melee here, and it has a good prayer and defense bonus on it, so it is a powerful amulet, and it's much cheaper than the Torture. The Amulet of Glory is a weaker version than the Fury, and then worst case scenario, honestly, an Amulet of Strength is still solid for increasing your max hit. In the ammo slot, the only thing that's helping you here is going to be a Blessing. The Rada's Blessing 4 has a +2 prayer bonus, and then every other blessing has a +1 prayer bonus. For your weapon, there's a lot of choices. The Scythe of Vitur is best in slot. It should be set to slash unless you're using Inquisitor's armor, then you can use it on Crush. If you're rocking the full Blood Moon and the Amoxliatls, that's actually the next best option here. If you don't have that full Blood Moon set, the Maracas land like just under an Abyssal Bludgeon. Next, we have the Inquisitor's Mace, followed by the Soul Reaper Axe, then the Abyssal Bludgeon and the Zamihasta. The Sarachnis Cudgel does do some good work for being very cheap. The Glacial Tomatlis are actually dropped from this boss, and they're pretty solid since they attack twice per attack and they have very low requirements. And then at the low end, I would say go for a Zombie Axe, which is pretty powerful for how cheap it is. In the shield slot, as long as you're not wearing a 2-handed weapon, the Avernic Defender is best in slot, followed by a Dragon Defender. After that, you could go for a Dragonfire Shield or an Obsidian Shield. If you're at the levels to fight the Amoxliatl, then you should be, or at least be close to, trying to get that Dragon Defender. In your chest slot, we have the Inquisitor's Hauberk, best in slot, followed by the Torva Plate Body. The Blood Moon chestplate is a good option and much cheaper than those first 2. Technically, the Bandos chestplate is a little bit better than Blood Moon, unless using the full Blood Moon set, but Bandos is also a lot more expensive just for more defense, and defense doesn't matter here. Then you've got the Fighter Torso for some strength bonus, followed by an Obsidian chestplate, and after that I would just wear some prayer bonus armor, like the Proselyte gear or some Monk's robes. The legs slot looks very similar to the chest. We have Inquisitors at best in slot, followed by Torva, then the Blood Moon Tassets and the Bandos Tassets. The Obsidian legs have a slight strength bonus on it, but after that you can just go for prayer bonus with either the Proselyte armor or the Monk's robes. Ferocious gloves are the strongest for melee, followed by the trusty Barrow's gloves. If you're looking to get into bossing in general, you should be trying to go finish Recipe for Disaster to get those Barrow's gloves. After that, you would just go down the line of Recipe for Disaster gloves. You have Dragon gloves, Rune gloves, Adamant gloves, and Mithril gloves. Addy gloves have the same stats as a regen bracelet, bracelet, which is tradable, and then myth gloves had the same stats as a combat bracelet, which is also tradable. Primordial boots are best in slot for now, followed by dragon boots, which are barely any worse, but significantly cheaper. Orania boots do have the same melee stats as dragon boots, plus they can be good for magic and range, but you don't need those here, so technically not really worth. From there, you could send spiked manacles, mixed hide boots, or rune boots. And finally, for the ring slot, the Ultor ring is best in slot, followed by the Berserker ring, and make sure to imbue that Berserker ring. If you have a very strong special attack weapon like Dragon Claws or Burning Claws, then the Light Bearer is actually very good for some bonus DPS, and an imbued Tyrannical ring is pretty good for a crush bonus at the low end. Now let's move on to the inventory. First, I've got my Burning Claws for my special attack weapon. These are similar DPS to the Dragon Claws, but they are a lot cheaper. I mostly like the Burning Claws because they use 30% special attack energy per spec, so you get like one spec almost every single kill, depending on how long your kills are. Jumping to the bottom of the inventory, I've got my rune pouch with blood runes, cosmic runes, and fire runes, and then I have a Book of the Dead so that I can summon thralls. If you're feeling spunky, you could bring death runes and soul runes as well to use death charge for a few extra special attacks. I'm using the Pendant of Attis to teleport to the temple. If you don't have the pendant yet, then this Invi spot might be a Varlamore teleport of some kind, but we'll talk about that in the travel section of the guide. I do have some house tabs to heal up and bank as well. I have a Divine Super Combat Potion, which is a Super Strength, Super Attack, and Super Defense all in one. Super Strength and Attack are very important for doing more damage, and using Divine Potions are very good for keeping your DPS maxed for as many hits as possible. I've got like 7 Prayer Potions here, and then just a handful of food. I am using Cooked Moonlight Antelope because they're 26 health per Invi space. They heal 14 right away, and then 12 more health like a few ticks later. They are fairly expensive, to be fair. You can easily get away with low-tier foods like swordfish and lobsters. Your first handful of kills, you'll likely make more mistakes and take a little bit more damage, so you might want to actually fill up with food, but eventually when you get used to the fight, you should barely be using any food at all. If you have any questions about the inventory or the gear setup, be sure to let me know in the comments section, and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. The boss is located in the ruins of Tapoyawik, probably butchered that one. It's located in like the far corner of Varlamore. There is a Quetzal landing spot near the temple, but you do need to go build that landing site first, which requires 10 Quetzal feed, 3 limestone bricks, 4 soft clay, and then a hammer and a saw. To get to that landing site, you can teleport to Varlamore, take the Quetzal transport from Fortis over to the Quetzalcoatl Gorge, and then make a run around the mountain to get up to this unbuilt landing site up north. Once you've built that site, you can then take any other Quetzal to this spot. From that spot, you can run south, little southeast to get to the temple. The Pendant of Attis is a drop that you can get from the Amoxliatl at a 1 in 25 drop rate, or from Frost Naguas at a 1 in 100 drop rate. This pendant can be charged with frozen tears, which are obtained from the monsters within the ruins, including the Amoxliatl. When you charge the pendant, you can use it to teleport to a few different statues across Varlamore, but you do have to go activate those statues first. There's a statue just east of the entrance to the temple, which is going to unlock the Twilight Temple teleport on the pendant. You can activate this statue before you get the pendant, so like first time you go in there, just go ahead and activate the statue. The pendant is then the best way to travel to the boss. Once you enter the temple from the lift, you just enter the door to the west to begin the Amoxliatl fight. Now let's go over the basic mechanics of the boss. The Amoxliatl will use magic attacks, so you should protect mage and then your best offensive melee prayers the entire fight. The boss's standard attack will just hit you with magic, and then it's going to spawn some ice spikes around the room. You only have a couple of ticks to dodge them, or they will damage you. After the spikes would have hit you, they do disappear, but whichever spot that you were standing on right when the attack was used, that's now going to have a permanent icy spot, which will damage you every tick that you stand on it. So you do slowly fill up the room with these spots that you can't stand on any longer. If you step at least 2 steps away from the boss, it will follow you a little bit, so you can move the boss around to have more safe spots to stand and melee it. This is the majority of the boss fight. It's a lot of footwork. You don't have a lot of time to react to the ice spikes, but they really don't hit that hard, so it's very good for practicing your ability to react and move your character accurately. This can be very valuable for a lot of other high-level bosses. In general, if you click at least 2 squares away from where you're standing, you're much more likely to find an open square than if you just click like 1 square next to you. After every 4 to 5 of these standard attacks, the boss will use a special attack. It has 2 different specs, and it will alternate between the 2 of them every 4 to 5 attacks. Just the first one that it uses in the fight will be random. The Unstable Ice special attack will have the boss spawn up to 4 pieces of unstable ice nearby. 2 attacks later, if you haven't destroyed that ice, the Amoxliatl will shatter it, creating a bunch of those permanent icy spots, and also healing the boss for around 20 health for each remaining unstable ice. When you hit the ice, you won't get any attack delay. So in other words, you can attack immediately after, so you can pop like all 3 or 4 of the ice very quickly and get back to the boss immediately. If you're using a weapon that uses charges, then it could be good to switch to your special attack weapon, since it's really easy to just one-hit it with whatever weapon. You could even take your weapon off and like kick it to make sure not to waste charges, and you don't have to like one-tick each of the ice to be able to get through the attack. Just eventually you'll get quick at it and be able to just one-tick each of them. The other special attack is the Icicle Crash. The boss will turn off your prayers and shoot a magic projectile at you. You do need to turn on your Protect from Magic before it hits you, or you'll take up to 34 damage. It is best to just set up your quick prayers so that you can click on the prayer orb to turn them back on quickly. Let's put all of this together for a full kill. I've got my quick prayers set to Protect Magic and Piety. Make sure that you use your best offensive prayers that you have. Even Ultimate Strength and Incredible Reflexes will drastically increase your damage output. As the boss is going to spawn in, I use my Resurrect spell to spawn a Thrall, and then I click on my quick prayer orb to turn on my prayers. Most of the fight is just waiting for the ice to spawn and then clicking an empty square as soon as you see it. Remember, it is best to be aiming at least 2 squares away from where you're currently standing. There's generally going to be more like ice spots near you. After like 4 dodges, the Amoxliatl is going to use the Unstable Ice. I do switch to my Dragon Dagger to hit them just out of habit. There's no issue with hitting them with the Maquahietls, and then I go right back to attacking the boss and dodging the ice spawns. We know that the next special attack is going to be the Icicle Crash, so while I am moving my feet, I do have to get ready to turn those prayers back on when they get turned off. If you don't keep track of the attacks, you still have plenty of time just to like react to your prayers being turned off. It does say in the chat that it disables your prayer, and generally it's pretty noticeable that your overhead is just not there anymore. From there, we just have some more footwork to keep dodging the standard attack. The next special attack would be hitting those unstable ice again, but it happens to be right as we're getting the kill, and we are good to go. Leaving the room and re-entering will force the boss to spawn in much faster than just waiting for it. This is better for like overall kills per hour, but it's also not a good idea if you're trying to speedrun an individual kill. You won't be able to hit the boss for a couple ticks after it spawns, since you're still running up to it when you enter the room. So if you're trying to do the speedrun combat achievements, don't exit the room between kills. The loot from the Amoxliatl isn't incredible, as it is a fairly low-level boss. The average loot is about 13.5k per kill. Your kills per hour can drastically vary depending on your levels, your gear, and just how good you've gotten at the boss fight. If you're taking less damage, then you have to bank less often, you get more kills per hour. I'd say anywhere from 20 to 60 kills per hour is doable, which would be 270k to 810k GP an hour in loot, so anywhere from 200k to 700k GP an hour in profit. There's only a few uniques as well. Every kill, it'll drop Frozen Tears, which are used to charge the Pendant of Attis. The Pendant is a 1 in 25 drop, and it can be used to teleport to various statues around Varlamore, though you do have to go activate the statues first. At a 1 in 100 rate, you can get the Glacial Tomotlis, which are a nice mid-tier crush weapon that does hit twice every time it attacks. And then at a 1 in 3,000 drop rate, you can finally get some Moxie, which is the name of the Amoxliatl pet. Best of luck out there, pet hunters. Overall, the drops for this boss aren't crazy, but it is an entry-level boss. It's mostly for just getting you prepared to fight bosses that have much better drops. If you have any questions about fighting the Amoxliatl, then let me know in the comments section, and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. If you enjoyed this guide, or you just got some useful information out of it, be sure to like and subscribe for more content. Thank you for watching, and best of luck on your Amoxliatl grinds.